Hi, Adrian. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Rosa. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Sounds so easy.
This is going to be a fun one. I hope everyone's ready.
I'll try not to bore your listeners.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. Okay, let's go into it. We're going to get right into the running. Through the intro, people know that we already know each other. We met many years ago while I was like going from 0 to running 5K. And then later on, I ended up doing 3 marathons, but I never once loved running. I hated every step.
Funny, you've never really mentioned that.
I never moaned about it.
No, you never talk about it.
It was so painful, but I loved all the people I was running with. That was the thing. And I loved the challenge of it. But you were always so happy. Like you enjoyed running. And I used to be in awe. I was like, how are you enjoying this process?
Oh, well, my
Tell me
face
about
was
that.
fixed. I didn't have a choice of changing the face. It just looked like I was enjoying it. But like you say, really, at the end of the day, the marathon or whatever bit of running you do, isn't that easy. But it's really kind of the people that you run with. You kind
Yeah.
of don't want to fear of missing out, and and you kind of run with people that kind of make you laugh. So even in a long run, as you know what those long runs are, I did one this morning. I was clean shaven this morning when I started running this morning. I've just come out like Forrest Gump. But I kind of find, when you do those long runs or whatever form of exercise it is, you're running with the people and having conversation with people because you find out so much more about people. And I
Mm.
think that kind of look, I may look like I enjoyed it, and I love the euphoria at the end of it because I kind of feel like you do it, but for that hour and a half, or whenever you're running, it's really painful. But the end of it, you have that glory that lasts forever and ever. And you think,
So
and if you
true.
don't do it, you're like, and like an hour's gone where you could have ran, and then you spend the rest of the day going, oh, I wish I'd done it. I wish I'd done it because it kind
Yeah.
of plays in the back of your mind. But yeah, like you say, the people in, as you know from the running club, there were some real characters there, so it kind of made it. You come back and there'd always be a story to tell, or someone had said something really stupid, or someone had done something really stupid, and then you talked about it, and that was it. But yeah, and I think also, I don't know if I ever told you this. I don't think I've ever told anyone this really, so it's going to
Ooh.
be a bit of an eye
Ooh,
opener.
I'm excited. Yeah, totally.
It's not that exciting, don't worry.
We're only a
My
minute in and already this is great.
That's it. We're all over BBC News tomorrow. But my parents, when I was born, my parents always used to call me Porky.
Oh,
Yeah, don't worry, I'm not bitter or twisted about the whole thing. So kind of like my friends were like, oh, when they were younger, they used to ring, and my mum would shout down the phone, go, Pork, Pork, the phone's someone's on the phone. And of course, I then just literally, it's hard to believe now,
different
but
times, different
I
times.
kind of liked it. And now when people see you and they go, yeah, obviously that was years ago, but people go, oh, it's all for you. You can eat what you like, And I go, no, actually, you've had to really exercise at this. So,
Mm.
um, at the end of the day, I think, the people that you run with, and I think the feel good factor that you get from running and any form of exercise, both sort of physically and mentally, is so kind of important. I know that your face was a picture every time you'd come back from running, and you were you just look like, oh, I hate this.
I really did. I really did. But it's interesting. Like I completely agree. Like that's what happened to me. First of all, I was dared to do a marathon by a friend, and then at first I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then you start thinking about it. I'm like, oh, at least once in my lifetime, it would be cool to say that I've done it. And then I remember I thought, I can't run by myself. Like, so I looked up running clubs in the area in North London, and Trent Park is the one that comes up. And I remember I joined and trained for the marathon. And then at the end of the marathon, I was like, oh, but now if I want to keep seeing those people 3 to 4 times a week, I need to keep running, and I can't run without a challenge. And so then that's why I would keep choosing like another half or another marathon to do, because that's what kept me going. Like you said, it was the people, and it was also the challenge of it. But you're right. Like I used to laugh so much on those runs. Like we did have the most like diverse, fun group of people to run with.
Yeah, and I think I'm from the. I don't know you, but I kind of think that everyone should have a story to tell in
Yeah,
life, and
love that.
and I think if I'm not being on a morbid note, but if your time came, what would you want to be kind of remembered for?
Mm-hmm.
And the things that see people say on a run and the conversations, and you know, even now I look back on some of the marathons I've done. I remember doing the Amsterdam marathon, and there was a group of us that went over to Amsterdam to do the marathon, and we finished the marathon. And one of the people I ran with, their friend actually lived in Amsterdam, and it's local. So she said, "Oh, I'll take you all out for a meal at the end. You know, we'll go off to this restaurant." Or we spent longer walking to find this restaurant than we did doing the marathon. So half of us were invalids at the end of the marathon because I was so long. Then we had to walk about 20 miles around Amsterdam trying to find this restaurant. And we were in bits by the
So
time
painful.
we were like, oh, slumping. But the thing is we kept talking about it forevermore, about the whole thing. And it was about having kind of a story to tell. And I know that when you joined the club, a lot of us decided to leave. But it's very hard to move away from it when you make such really, I mean, you, as I say, with running, you just make really good friends, lifetime friends. And sometimes you run more times with someone that you, for maybe a month or 6 weeks, you know more about someone in 6 weeks, not you're being nosy, than people that you've known all your life. And these people become lifelong friends. And they, you know, and it's a good sounding board for ideas. I don't know how you feel about running. Some of my best ideas came from running. Sometimes even when I was on my own, I could kind of let my mind went, especially because I know in teaching, I could think of my lessons, any creative stuff I wanted to do. It would always come through my head when I was running.
Yeah, amazing. Well, it's funny you say that because I actually almost didn't forget about this, but didn't think I was going to mention it. Is speaking of that, is that running club is the reason I changed careers. Like I remember I had been in teaching for 6 or 7 years, and I knew that I wanted to change. I always went into teaching knowing that there was something else out there that I really wanted to do, but I didn't quite know what it was. And then I had an aunt that got really sick with cancer. And so I started thinking, I want to do something in the area of health, but I didn't know what to do. And so it was on one of the runs at the club. I was running with this lady. I don't remember her name. I only saw her that once. And you just start talking because you're running together for the next couple hours, like, or whatever it is. And she had told me the story of how her and her husband had just changed careers, how they had quit their jobs and they had become fitness trainers and massage therapists. And she mentioned the name of the college. That it was at Finsbury Park, which wasn't too far. And the next day I called that college and I was like, oh, I'm just going to go inquire it. Well, by the time I walked out, I'd already signed up to do the course and change my life. Like it was amazing. And I never saw her again. Like,
well, sometimes people come into your life just to pass on a message.
yeah.
And, you know, sometimes you're there and the dawn of light or whatever you want to call it comes on, and you can. I mean, I remember when you were teaching, and we would always moan about teaching. In fact, we still do moan about teaching, but I moan more. But you were very inspirational because I kind of remember you had so much get up and go, and you did it. You went off and did all the personal training stuff. You made a career out of it, and I kind of stayed where I am. But you know, you're really quite inspirational. So even though I might look like I was smiling when I was running, you actually did a lot more out of it than I ever did.
Well, I don't know that that's true. I think you're very humble, but it is. I'm just saying it's true what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just reading what you told me to say.
Stop it. Okay, so tell me, like, as fun as it is, I'm sure there's times where, like, whatever fitness journey people are on, there's got to be times where we just don't feel like doing it anymore. Do you have like, first of all, do you have those moments? And if you do, like, what strategies do you have, like, to keep going? Because you've been fit for years. It's not like you just started a couple of years ago.
I mean, I started quite late. I did used to do I did a half marathon when I was about 18, and I kind of dabbled in it a little bit. And funny enough, for me, I went to this circuit training class in Cockfosters, you know, near the club, and it was run by a police sergeant, and it was packed, and it was really, really, really good. And there was a load of people in it, and I really got bitten by the bug. And there was a race that we did called Tough Guy. It was in the 90s. It was bought out by Tough Mudder. I don't know if you remember Tough Mudder, but it was done in January, so it was pretty brutal. And he was an ex-SAS soldier. And the thing is, you do about 8 or 9, I think it's probably about 10 or 11 country miles. And then the last mile, you do these kind of obstacles. And it was freezing cold. And I you know, was things I was going, I'm never going to do this. I'm not getting up on a Sunday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning in the freezing cold and jump into a river. But the point was, is I kept thinking to myself, I've never done this before, and I'm doing it with a load of other people. So if a load of other people can get up in the morning and do it, then I can certainly get up in the morning. And I kind of look forward to the camaraderie. And for me, the thing that gets me going is really a lot of the stuff is the camaraderie, the people you go with. And we talked about friendships with running, but it's when you do team events, people think running is solo. Running can be solo, but it's also a team thing. So when you all discuss the race at the end of it, or when you all get up and train together, the fear for me, it's the fear of missing out. And the fact is, obviously I'm a lot older now, and I've got used to being slim, and the feel good fact that people say to you, "Oh, how old are you?" and you tell them how old, and you go, "Oh, hang on a minute, no, you're not." And I kind of feel quite good because I feel quite fit. I feel very healthy. So I kind of have that drive behind me. And the other thing is, obviously, fortunately, as you know, I still work in the gym. So for me, I have that commitment. So you were saying about people, how do you keep going? Like, if you make, my best tip really for doing it is make a commitment to someone. So even there's two of you together, so you go. So no one wants to let the other person down. So you say, right, okay, I'm running on Sunday morning and we're going to do this. I'll see you at 8:45 in the morning or whenever it is. You've got a commitment. If it's left to yourself, you'll go out, you'll get up, and then you'll start debating whether to put your running stuff on. And then you start looking at the window and there's a bit of drizzle. And then the more you think about it, the more you start talking yourself out of the whole thing. So I try now is not actually even think about it. I literally put the kit on and go. Because the more I think about it, the more I will talk myself out of doing it. And the worst thing is, I think, is I would say rather have, and like you, look, I find it hard and I do find it difficult. And sometimes when I do those first 10 minutes, as you know, warming up, you go, oh, God, everything.
They're always hard.
Yeah, exactly. I hate it. And I go off and I'm sort of running off and ankles hurt me, knee, you're kind of stiff and everything. And you go, oh my God, I'm going to do another hour. But once you get into that first 10 minutes, you start getting that kind of endorphin kick and you start seeing the countryside, or you start being out and you start feeling really good. And then at the end of it, when you come back, I kind of feel, even if I've run for an hour, I've got the rest of the day to bask in glory. But if I did it, I would spend the rest of the day going, oh, I wish I'd ran this morning, or I wish I'd gone to the gym this morning. So they're kind of the things I kind of play around with. But I think nowadays I don't torture myself if I miss a session. I don't feel that whereas before I'd be, oh my God, I've missed one. Now I listen to my body a little bit more. As you get a little bit older, you can't keep relentlessly punishing it. So I do have a sofa day. I do kind of back off a little bit if I need to. How do you do it? How do you get on with your plunge pool?
I don't. Well, it's interesting. So for those listening, I did buy like an ice bath. A nice, like, it's like a pool. Actually, it came from London. It's a company in London. And I'm only on third day, but as you're speaking, like, I like what you're saying because it applies to so much of what we want to do when we set a goal for ourselves. We set these goals and everyone thinks, oh, they did it. It was so easy, but it's not. Like, you have that mental boxing. And I think that's what my friend Billy Schwer, who's like a world boxing champion, and he from Luton, and he talks about that mental boxing in your head. And it's exactly what you're talking about. Like, that whole thing of like wanting to go, not wanting to go, thinking of how you're going to feel after, and really needing to convince yourself. And I think that can apply to like everything. Everyone's human. It's just a matter of who's going to win that in your brain, who's going to win that challenge.
Yeah, and you do play games with yourself over it.
Oh,
And you're not alone. Everyone goes through it. So people think, well, everyone, some people just naturally go. You have to. Everyone goes through the same.
It's amazing because honestly, like I when we were running together, I would probably look at people like you and other runners that were much faster than me, and I'd be like, oh, they just find it easy. Like, I just assumed you would find it easy, right? Because we always assume that about other people. It's only hard for me.
No, I only just put an effort on when you were all outside watching. Then after that, I was walking around. When I walked around the corner, threw a bit of water over my face, wetted my t-shirt, so I looked like I'd been really puffy. But it's never easy. No, none of us find it. And even with the racing, you've got where I've been to some of the cross country seasons, and you have a whole mixture of group. And I mean, nothing. I mean, there's people in their 60s and 70s running around cold fields. And I just find it incredible. It doesn't matter how fast you are. The fact that these people are up and running, and it's caked in mud, and the rain is piling down, and you've got these 70, 80-year-old. Yeah, you sort of think this is brilliant.
There's always someone to take your excuses away. Oh,
exactly. And you feel a bit feeble when you see them. You go, it's not great.
It's so true.
I shouldn't really be kind of whinging a bit, kind of thing. So yeah, I kind of I try and have a positive kind of slant on it, really, at the end of the day.
There's you talked about like that feeling at the end, like that euphoria. Why is so for those listening, because nothing ever goes perfect. I have someone calling me on my computer, so I turned off my phone, but I'm gonna turn them off. Here we go. Let me just stop. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Okay. You were talking about that euphoria at the end, and I remember that's what kept me going. Well, it still does to this day, and I think we underestimate that feeling of like how good it feels when you're done. I think part of it's the exercise for sure that makes you feel that way, but I think it's also the fact that you made yourself a promise and you kept it.
Yeah. And
that's think really what builds self-confidence.
Yeah, and the fact that you can do it, and you've put the effort in, and also I think a lot of people, when you exercise, it's a chance to be away from everything, be away from your mobile phone. It's your time to be able to kind of have a bit of peace and quiet. Excuse me, even if you're kind of running on your own, you let your mind wander. And from I obviously live quite near the countryside now, so to be able to run out in see the greenery. Autumn for me is one of my favourite seasons because I love watching the leaves change colour, and it's everything's golden. The leaves are trying. Don't think I'm going soft. I don't want you to think I'm going soft.
Look at you. Wow.
See what happened last time? People are completely changed. Yeah, I know. I'm all soft and gentle now. But I know. But I love that kind of thing. And you see things when you're out running that you perhaps wouldn't normally see if you were in the car and stuff like that. And you appreciate a lot of kind of a bit more about nature. You see kind of things that you don't kind of appreciate in the kind of everyday life where you're kind of running around like a lunatic. And that greenery, I know green is a kind of creative colour. That gives you the euphoria of just being outside in a gym. Just if, like, for example, I teach quite a lot of spin classes and circuit training, the people make it, even though I'm just the instructor, the people make it so great. And I can honestly say, if I hadn't have taken up exercise, whether I was teaching it or whether I was doing it, my life would have been completely different. It has opened up so many more opportunities for me. As I said to you at the beginning of the podcast, everyone should have a story to tell. People take up exercise, you don't know where that journey will take you, whether it is doing a marathon in another country, and what great place to visit another country by running 26.2 miles, looking around a town that you wouldn't ever normally see. You spend time with people on trips. If you do the races, you finish the crossing line, everyone's patting everyone on the back. There's a camaraderie around there. In fact, I don't know if you know that on the some of the guys I run with, they entered us into a quiz show, Eggheads. I don't know if you get it. It's on it's a quiz show for intelligent people. I don't know why I was on it, but it was. But out of it, so it's on the egg. We did Eggheads, and they took us all up to Scotland.
I remember Eggheads.
Yeah, the quiz show. I know it's hard to believe that I was actually on it. We did that, and we ran around Glasgow because they paid for us to go to film it in Glasgow. And then the guys that I run with, we decided to run around Glasgow, and we came back. And they filmed it, and it all went out. And there was another story that came out of it, but I'll tell you that another time. But then we also did Tenable, and we did another thing that would never have come around if I hadn't have ran, with these people and trained with other people. And I think, for a lot of people, there's a lot to be gained from exercise. And I think that's the euphoria, and about having a story to tell, even sitting down, just having a coffee. It doesn't matter whether you did 20 minutes or whether you did 15 minutes or 2 hours. It's about people that make you feel good. Humans are, I think humans are born to be around people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you
100%.
know, we like connections with people. And I think that's part of the euphoria. And the fact that we feel smug afterwards when we have a biscuit with the latte, we feel great that we've done it. But there is that as well.
It's so true. Like I for me, my favorite day running was always those Saturdays because afterwards all you had all sorts of people, all different levels of running, and we would all come together at the clubhouse and have like tea and toast and whatever. And I just used to absolutely love that. And there's a, I don't know, we don't need studies to tell us about these things, but just the other day I was reading some study and it was talking about what helps people to like what is one of the most important elements of health. And yes, exercise is important, nutrition is important, but actually the number one thing was social connection. And I thought that's so, we don't talk enough about it. Like my mom, who's 83, is out all the time. Like she volunteers for so many things. She still makes friends, like new friends at this age. And she has friends that are a variety of ages. Like she has friends in her 40s to friends in her 90s. Like it's incredible. And I was thinking about her and I was like, yeah, that's why she still has that get up and go, despite she said to me, you know, some days you don't want to get up. Like your body hurts. Like she's fit, but she's like, your body hurts and aches. And sometimes you feel down, like mentally down, and you don't want to get up, but you just have to force yourself to go. And I think having these social connections, they enrich your life, they provide accountability, whether it's accountability for exercise or just accountability for getting up and out of our beds. And I think at a time where we're dealing with so much mental health, it has a lot to do with people being so isolated. And you know, I talk a lot, like people go and work out at the gym, but they're still by themselves a lot. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
as much as I love a good solo workout, there's nothing wrong with that. But more than ever, whether people want to run or whether there's so much people can do, like join a hiking club. I mean, there's a snowshoeing club here that I still haven't. I have these brand new snowshoes, but they're 3 years old and have never been used. But I was
I look
thinking,
out for them on eBay.
I got them at Costco and I was like, I'm going to snowshoe. And then I never did. But again, there's no accountability. And so now I'm like, okay, there must be a group of people that go out. And so that's going to be my next thing is like looking for those groups of people to create those connections. And, you know, when we were running phones, of course, phones were out. We're not like, you know, it wasn't that long ago, but we didn't have the social media like we do now. And people weren't as addicted to their phones as they are now. And I'm seeing such a negativity coming out of that. So when you mentioned, yeah, you're running and you don't have your phone with you, like that in itself is really powerful.
Yeah, and I mean, I was still teaching the gym. People still bring their phones into the gym, into the classes. You know, you do one lap of the circuit and they're checking their phones.
Yeah.
It's,
Ah,
it's, but they are working hard, and I kind of, except
right.
maybe some people are on kind of on call and stuff like that. But I think the social thing is so important.
Yeah. How important has it been for you? Like over the years, I'm sure like you go through changes and things happen in life, hard things and, you know, happy times, hard times. Have there been times like how has running helped you through like really difficult challenges in life?
Um, I think probably going back to the social thing is you really enjoy the people you run with. So no matter how bad your day has been or kind of a difficult period, there are always people that will listen to you. That's
Mm.
probably why they run ahead of me because they don't want to listen to me. Hey, come back! I haven't finished. I haven't finished. They split me off into the background, and I'm like, oh, okay. But you know, I mean, look, everyone's going to go through some difficulties through life, and you know that's kind of guaranteed. But
Yeah.
I think the thing is with running or any exercise, it gives you a chance to kind of think without being kind of clouded by lots of other things that are going around you. Also, the fact that most of the people that you run with you've known for a long time, so they will either sound out ideas. And I mean, I'm a great fan of humour anyway. So someone will brand say something funny, and it only needs a smile on your face to kind of
Yeah.
go, okay, yeah, life isn't that
Yeah.
bad. I think if I didn't have that, and especially in kind of the career I'm in, you'd kind of go a little bit crazy.
Mm.
And there's also that with exercise. You know who you're going to meet at the gym. I don't mean that from a marriage point of view, but the people that you meet, well, you can do. I mean, in fact, I think I've had about
That
5 or 6
happens
people
too.
that met in my classes and got married. So maybe I should become a vicar. Um, uh,
Your next phase.
yeah, I'll be able to set on my own dating site for runners and stuff, or fitness classes. But people. I think generally as a whole, I think, like a healthier lifestyle and then social connections. I see some people around that don't have that kind of connection, and they
Yeah.
tend to be quite pessimistic. They're kind of negative, and I kind of try to stem away from those kind of people.
Mm.
I like to be upbeat and happy most of the time, and I find that with exercise, that allows me. And I've also been blessed by the people that I run with and train with, and I've also been very lucky to have a career in working at the gyms for over 25 years, and I did show you earlier that I still haven't moved on with the times, that I still use CDs. 25 years, I went from tapes to CDs. But these people become really good friends. I've been on holiday with some of the people I've met through the classes and stuff like that, being on fitness weekends, and that helps you. That's your coping mechanism. I think
Yeah.
without, I think my life would be completely different, and I'm really lucky. And anyone that was thinking that, I need to do more with my life, I would thoroughly recommend it. It opened so many doors for me, and
Yeah.
we would never have met,
Yeah. Right.
through the club.
Look how your life's been enriched.
Yeah, well, no, it's not go that far. But you speak for yourself. How your life has gone through, exercise, and the people you meet and what you achieve and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's just it's a great thing to do for anyone. And you don't have to be brilliant at it. It's just about being with people, chatting.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. Like you use the word lucky, but I don't think it has anything to do with luck. I think it's really about intention and the actions that you take. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, you're so lucky. Your life is like this and this and this," but it's like, no. Like everyone's human, and we all have decisions
Mm.
to make. You really touched on. I know we're talking about the social connection, but I think what's really important too is being around those like-minded people. They do say you are, there's that saying, you are the five people you spend the most time with. And whether it's, two or three people that you have, or 10, whatever it is, it's so important that you're around people that are like-minded, that will inspire you to do things when it's hard and to stay active. The reality is, if your life isn't where you want it to be, you can't keep hanging out with the same people that are keeping you there. And it's hard because people stay in these friendships because it's someone they've known since they were a child, or they're just in the habit of seeing these people every Thursday night for drinks for the last 20 years, right? But nothing positive's coming out of that. And people don't want to let go of those connections. And yet that's often what holds people back, is the people that they're surrounding themselves with. And it can feel really daunting, I think, later in life, to think like, oh, where am I going to meet new people? And people are lonely. But I think
Yeah.
it's it's taking that action and looking, like, in your local area, is there something that I can join? Whether it's a walking club, like, it doesn't have we're not saying everyone has to become a marathon runner, right? It's different. There's different opportunities, but you have to look for people that you can connect with that are going to support you on that path.
And they will be your kind of driving force. I mean, my best friend, who I've known since I was at infant school, since I was about 4 or 5, he doesn't exercise with me at all, but we still have that very good closeness of friends. We just have a different cycle, and you have people that you train with, you have your friends that you've grown up with that will always be your best friends. It's about embellishing your life with different things. But like you say, it's about having like-minded people, people that are going to inspire you. So some of the people I run with, they're always going to be driving force going forward, in kind of encouraging you to do things that you perhaps wouldn't normally do, but because you enjoy their company, you do it.
Yeah. This like reminds me of, and when we were going to do this interview, I was like, okay, somehow I'm going to bring up this name in this interview, because he was the person that inspired me the most, which was my running coach at the time, John Baith, who's passed away. But he was amazing. He started running, I believe, in his 40s, and he trained me for all three of my marathons. He wrote my programming for me. I could still sometimes when I'm out, if I'm walking or running, I could still hear him breathing behind me because he had like this distinctive like breathing, and like I'd be like, oh, here comes John. I can hear him behind me. But he was
It's funny. It's funny you should say that, because there was another. I don't know if you remember. There's another guy called Alan Benjamin, who was at the club. He was a really good runner in his 50s and
yeah
60s, and sadly, he said to me once, I did the Guernsey. Do you remember when the club used to do these kind of Guernsey series of races? So you'd go
yeah
to Guernsey, the whole crowd of us would go to Guernsey. And I remember him saying, because obviously my nickname was Dell, and obviously that's what he me as.
yeah.
He said, Dell, if you can't break 1:30 for a marathon, half marathon, he said, you should give up. So I was like, really? So of course, it was the bit between the teeth, and I kind of pegged it around this course and broke 1:30. And then
Amazing.
when he passed away, exactly the same as John Bath, I'd be running it, and I could hear him in my voice going, "You're still rubbish, even though you beat 1:30." I could still hear him kind of laughing. And these are the people like John Bath, who was, it was such a legend at the club,
Yeah.
brought people together. They were just wonderful people.
Yeah, amazing. He was too.
He was just amazing. And he was very distinguished, wasn't he? He was kind of tall and
He was
such a true
super tall. He
gentleman.
was not your typical runner. And I remember like thinking, to be honest, I don't know if he ever did a full marathon, because I remember I just assumed he had, and I think he did half marathons. And he was an amazing coach. So I remember he would pick me up and drive me to the club, and I'd be like, I'd come home from a day's teaching, and the last thing, because I didn't work in the easiest schools, let's be honest. So I'd get home and I'd be like absolutely shattered, and I'd lie down on my sofa for like 5 minutes. But when you lie down and you're like, I just want to sleep for the rest of the night, like I'd be exhausted, and then I'd get this text, Rosa, be there in 10 minutes. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I feel like death, but I'm going to get up because John's coming to get me. But he was like, he really just took you under his wing, and he was incredible. But I remember thinking like, you learn so much about people. And I remember thinking, oh, he's been running forever. This is so easy for him. But he started in his 40s. And I think you can start at any time in your life. And more, I'm seeing so many inspiring people starting later in life. So there's no excuse, right? Like it's never too late to start
And I
on
know
this
I've been at the
journey.
club for a long time, but there's even more people that are starting so late in life, even later than 40s and 50s, and excuse me, they're amazing. And they're still doing it, and they're
Yeah.
still, like thinking about the cross country season. They're getting up. They're in their 60s and 70s, and they're
Yeah.
running in a cold, wet field, and I'm hating it. And they're kind of running around like, oh, not the face I used to pull, but they were like, it's amazing. And and like I said, you're never too old. I mean, as you know, not away from running, but Buster Merrifield, the actor in Only Fools and Horses, he went into played Uncle Albert. I don't know if you can't remember the program, but he went into acting at such a late time in life. He retired as a bank manager. That he went into acting 60s and 70s. So with running, you can change at any time. There's
Yeah.
no one's telling you you've got to do this. You can do anything if you're prepared to put the energy and the inspiration into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's incredible where yeah, I just think people don't realize how inspiring they could be for other people just by doing their thing.
Yeah.
I always find that powerful. We'll think of like celebrities or all these big people, but actually everyone has the power to be inspiring. And you just never know. Like when you change your life, we do it for ourselves, but we actually don't realize the ripple effect that has. Like I often say to my clients, I work mostly with women, um, and they first come to me for weight loss because that's what I sell, but it's never the weight loss that we focus on. Once they come on board, then it's all about the health and leading an incredible life. And I always say to them, you don't realize, like, when you start to change yourself and become a healthier version of you, you don't know who's watching and
Mm.
how you could really be providing that moment of change for someone else. And I love that. I think that's incredible.
And I think John was really good at that kind of stuff. And I think the fact that you say that's your anchor point where someone changed for
Yeah.
you. And it's just such a true point. You don't know who. I mean, I'm not plugging a book, but I don't know if you've ever read it, The Five People You Meet in Heaven, Mitch Jabson,
No, I
and
do.
it's a
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book, but you don't know who's actually had the most power. And I remember saying to you about the fitness class, and that was the moment for me that kind of I saw this class and I got kind of completely swept away by the whole euphoria of it all and just absolutely loved it. And then I kind of then from there went on and became an instructor. But that was a real pivotal point for my fitness because that was
Right.
that one person made such a big difference. I met such a great range of people, and I just then from there went and joined the club as well. So okay, but yeah, one only takes one person.
Yeah, amazing. Love it. Okay, so I have a couple more questions for you. So we've touched on the whole exercise and how one getting out in nature. I think that was a huge touched on that we don't talk about enough about. It's nature is so incredible. Like when I had mold, I got really, I don't know if you know, but I got really sick from living in a house that had mold in Vancouver. It's a very rainy place and it took me a year and a half to get better. But I remember one of the things I did to heal was walk in the forest all the time. They call it forest bathing. Like we have these fancy
Okay.
terms for like get out and
Mhm.
but actually the forest and nature actually can really um, help to heal your microbiome. Like it physically will help you. And gut health and mental health are so connected. So there's just, I think there's just so much more that is happening for us when we're in nature that we don't realize. So I love that you touched on that. And I think anything that will get someone outside more is so powerful. So you talked on that. You talked about the connection, the accountability with other people. What else do you feel you get out of it?
A body like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But obviously my eyesight's not great, and my mirror doesn't kind of show that. But um, I think they're probably the most important things. I mean, obviously physical health is really important, and I think the health side. I
Mm,
think well, that's quite a tough question, really.
yeah.
I think one being, I think happy in yourself. I think
Mhm.
you
Love
kind
that.
of need to be. I think it gives you confidence with the exercise. Yeah, accountability. It also gives you conversational points. So if you're in a social context, you've got something to communicate about,
Yeah.
rather than becoming a running ball and say
Yeah,
yes.
that's important.
And people are interested. People, well, so what have you been doing? Oh, I ran Rotterdam Marathon, or
Yeah.
and people ask you what was it like. Probably more it was Rotterdam night, not about
Yeah.
about the running. But it's such it's about life. It's about you're only on the planet once, and really, at the end of the day, you kind of want to make a mark in some shape or form, whether it's inspiring someone else or just being so appreciative. And you were touching on that nature thing. I'm going to say this once, and I hope no one picks up on it. But I did when I was so with euphoria of being outside and the countryside and everything. I actually hugged a tree.
Trees all the time, Adrian. I hope
I
everyone
was
picked up on that.
I was like, oh my God, I could just feel the bark. And I looked up at it and I was like, oh my God, you've been here for years and years and years. And I was just kind of like, oh, slightly emotional because
Dropped
I
the love
was,
inside of you.
this is the only time you're going to see it. um, and I just, I was glad to be, we're all glad to be alive, but, I was just really glad to be out
Mm,
and, and being so appreciative of everything around. And,
mm,
sometimes we're stuck in the four walls of work, we have our work buddies and stuff, but being at humans are one meant to move.
yeah.
We are, we were
Yeah.
originally meant to move. We aren't geared to sit down. And secondly, we're geared around nature or part of nature and therefore being able to experience it. And I love the running through the seasons. Some seasons aren't so great, but just
It
actually
make you appreciate
seeing.
the others.
Yeah. Mind you, the summer's a bit bad actually. It's too hot. But when you run around Trent Park, you go around the paths and you see the different seasons. Your life goes on, and I just really lucky. And well, say you say lucky. I call it that. But I
Yeah.
think there's lots of things to be gained from it, and I can't really pinpoint anything specific extra than what I've kind of already told you. But I
I
wish I
think you just
could.
did. I think you just did. Like one, gratitude. Like gratitude is so powerful.
That was the word I was looking for, which is probably why you do podcasts and I just sit here.
Well, I love that you shared that moment. I'm going to play that on repeat. Um, okay, let's talk about this tree hugging because it's not a little thing. And when I'm out in nature, I do hug trees. And if I'm with someone, I make them hug trees. And it's funny how people don't want to do it. They feel kind of like, first they think I'm wacky, but they're kind of used to that. And then I could see that mental boxing in their head where they're like, they want to do it, but then they don't want to like feel silly for doing it.
Yeah,
But when
yeah, yeah.
they do it, I always say to them, can you feel that? And they always say yes. And
Oh
that's
yeah. Well, you're probably big and bold. I had to look down the path to see if anyone was coming, and no one was coming.
but
Glad to
there's
do.
an energy that you get from it.
Yeah.
Like it is really
And
incredible.
you can feel it going through you, and you almost gives you such a kind of a lift, an emotional kind of lift. I mean, even just away from trees, like the sea. I love the sea, and I
Yeah.
just like I like touching the sea. Like just put my hand in the water and just feel, it's or the river or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just nature as a whole, really,
Yeah.
in
Allowing
awe
them
of it.
to connect. Yeah. Yeah, I think again it comes down to that connection, connecting with nature. If we're in nature and listening to our phones, I mean, there's nothing wrong with listening to a podcast or like the Rosa Coelho podcast while you're out in nature. But I think
Especially this podcast.
that, pardon,
Especially this podcast.
especially this one. But there
I
is
think,
something to be said.
I think we're going to find an army of people going around hugging trees now.
I guess let's start a movement. Everyone
Almost
at the clubs now hugging.
yeah, everyone's hung up now and then start going around hugging trees.
Hey man, don't what they say, don't knock it till you try it. It's like
It's great.
it's the best. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. Okay, listen, tell me why. Why are you not a life coach?
Well,
I think that might be your next evolution
I might
after
be a
you.
tree coach, kind of hugging trees. I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe this will be my launching career. I don't know.
Ooh, maybe this is your moment.
This is maybe you're my ripple effect.
Maybe, just maybe. I think you'd be amazing at that.
There was
Okay.
I had a really good just you saying that there was a
Yeah.
really good question. I was very very lucky. You can Google him. A guy called Richard Heitner,
Yeah.
and he did a life coach thing for me for a couple of hours because he does it with stuff. And he asked me this great question, and he said, if you could have 5 people on your advisory panel, who would you have throughout your life to advise you? They can be dead, alive, they can be famous. And that made me think a little bit, and I was like, oh, that's quite a good old question. So it
Yeah.
was a good one to have.
That's a
So you can
great
pause and
question.
tell me what you want.
Yeah, and great question to ask yourself at different points, right? Different points in your life.
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay, I have one last question for you. This is a question that I ask everyone.
yeah.
Can you think of, and I'm sure there's many, but can you think of a moment that of something you heard or something that you read that changed everything for you? Those pivotal moments where you're like, huh.
Uh, 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 I've read. Well,
Come on,
dear.
Adrian, I know it's a hard one.
What something I've read.
Could be something you've read. Like, you know how sometimes you'll hear a quote or someone says something and you're like, oh, that just like that changed things for you. Like that conversation
Oh
I
yeah,
had and changed.
is it Maya Angelou? It's not what you
Yes,
say.
Maya
Yeah,
Angelou.
it's the way that you make people feel. And
Say it again. Say that again.
I think it's something like it's not what you say or do that counts. It's the way that how you make people feel that
Yeah.
is the
Yeah,
most
I've heard
important
that.
thing. And I kind of hope to use it, like especially with the fitness classes. I always personalize it, so I might have 20 people in the class. I always try and use everyone's name, and I try and engage them in everything. So even if it's a bit of a joke, so they feel kind of a part of it. And I personally, I find it really rewarding. Personally, I get such a kick out of it because, when my day's up and my numbers up, I'd like to be remembered as someone that's made an impact on someone's life. And if we can all do that, then what better place to leave a mark? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that is so beautiful. I love this serious side of you.
It's very short lived.
But that is really powerful, and I agree. I think I would feel exactly the same too. I love that quote. It's powerful.
I thought you were going to burst into tears then.
I was a little welled up. Adrian, this was so much fun. I'm so grateful that you took the time to come onto this podcast and give all the value that you have given, and I do believe that this episode will inspire people to just to get going, just to take that first step, and to put themselves first and make those connections and think about health beyond just the exercise, but all the other incredible benefits that it can bring to their lives and to the people around them.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I feel very privileged that you've asked me, and I hope there's any pearls of wisdom that will benefit anyone that was kind of listening. And if we've made a difference to people, then we're lucky. Even if we've got one person hugging a tree, we've made our mark.
Love it. Okay, let's go out and go hug a tree.
Exactly. I'll see you in about 5 minutes.
All right. Thanks so much, Adrian. Take
You're
care.
welcome. Thank you very much.